In this episode of Brew and Review, we take a look at the Great Fermentations Brewers Reserve Kit, the Hippie Farm Lemon Lavender Saison, and that's coming up next. About a month ago, I received a kit from Great Fermentations. I had some conversation back and forth with them, and they asked me if I wanted to review one of their kits, and I said yes. And I kind of left it up to them, and they asked me, they said, do you want to brew our Hippie Farm Lemon Lavender Saison? And I had not brewed a Saison before, so I thought, you know what? It's time to expand the brewing horizons and take a crack at it. So I started drinking some Saisons, having some when I was out. It's kind of the season for it. And I thought, you know what? I like this style, and so I'm going to give it a shot. So just to kind of run down the recipe real quick here. The recipe entailed 9.5 pounds of 2-row, 1.5 pounds of white wheat malt, and that would be 4.3 kilograms of 2-row and 680 grams of white wheat malt. The kit also included an ounce of Willamette for bittering addition, and that would be 28.3 grams, and a 1 ounce of German Hallertau, and that is a 15-minute addition, and that would be 28.3 grams as well. It also included an ounce of lemon peel, but they did suggest that you use a half an ounce if you were just brewing the kit and you didn't know for sure whether or not you wanted the character of the lemon that much. So it did come with that. And then it also came with a unique ingredient, which was 1 gram of lavender flowers. So some of their specs on the beer itself, they say that the gravity range is anywhere from 1.048 to 1.057. And then you should end up with a final gravity of 1.04 to 1.08. IBUs around 30 to 35, and your ABV should be anywhere from 5.3 to 7%. And the yield on it is going to be 5 gallons or 19 liters if you're doing that measurement. So I brewed that beer on a live brew session, and I just want to say I appreciate everybody that hung out for that, and we had a great time. And I wound up mashing in. The mash temperatures on this beer, they suggest you to mash in at a range of 146 to 148. I had never mashed in at 146, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot, see how that goes, and try that out. So I mashed in at 146, which would be 63.3 Celsius, and the higher end of the mash range that they call for would be 64.4 Celsius. Mashed for an hour on my Herm system, and then did the Vorlauf, and then gathered all the wort into the kettle, did my boil, started my boil, did the hop addition, the half ounce of the lemon peel, and the final hop addition, and then along with that last 5 minutes of the boil, added in the lavender. So that wound up turning into a final or original gravity on the beer of 1.048. Probably within 24 hours of the initial brew, it started fermenting, and it fermented for a good 4 or 5, 6 days after that. The fermentation temperature was about 68 degrees, and they recommend the temperature for fermentation to be somewhere between 64 and 72 degrees, which would be 17.7 Celsius to 22.2 Celsius. And I wound up with a final gravity of 1.002, which is a little bit lower than the final gravity that they call for, but that wound up with a ABV of about 6%. So it's it fermented down pretty dry, and I'm interested to see how it tasted. Incidentally, the yeast that I used for it was the Danstar Belle Saison dry yeast, but some of the suggestions that they have for the kit is the Y yeast 3711 French Saison, the Imperial Organic Yeast B64 Napoleon, the Imperial Organic Yeast B56 Rustic, or the Danstar. So, and I'll link up the description. In the description, I'll link up the kit, link to the kit and all that stuff. And then if you guys want to try to brew this beer, you can do that. Now, this is an optional step, but if you want to clarify the beer, you can transfer to secondary and let some of the yeast drop out of it. If you're going to bottle the beer, you'll need approximately 53 bottles and caps and 5 ounces or 141.7 grams of priming sugar. I chose to keg mine and carbonate it with my Blickman Quick Carb. So just kind of a little bit of a background on the Saison, and I don't know if a lot of you really know a lot about it, but it was actually a style that kind of emerged from the French-speaking region of Belgium. And what happened was the farmers actually went and got some yeast from the Belgian, like the monastery, the breweries out there, and took it back. And they would brew this beer in the like cooler times of the year, like November, December. And because they were afraid of infection with their fermentation, so they would brew it in the late fall to early winter, and then they would basically cellar it or keep it all year, and then they would bring it out during, you know, the summer, or, you know, the mid spring to summer, and they would actually provide it to their farm workers to drink while they're working. The interesting thing about that was their version of it was a lot lower ABV than what we have today. So it was probably about 3 to 4% ABV. So, and I do wonder, because some of the characteristics sometimes with the Saisons is they talk about that horse blanket or some of those weird funky flavors. And I wonder if some of that didn't evolve out of being around a farm and all that wild yeast that, you know, is around the animals and all that stuff. So, you know, I kind of wonder if some of that didn't come out of that. I have to think that it did. So, but, well, that's enough about all that. So let's get into the beer.
I'm excited to try this one, Brian.
Ooh, nice little hiss there. Came out a nice golden color.
Pretty.
Yeah. And it probably is going to be a little bit dry just because of how far it fermented down, but I did use my Blickman Quick Carb on this and put a little bit more carbonation on it than I normally would with like an IPA or a pale or whatever, because it's supposed to be a little bit effervescent. So let's get the nose on it. Ooh. Yeah, I'm getting some of that. I'm getting some of the Belgian yeast characteristics for sure, and
definitely picking up the lemon.
The lemon
and the definitely the lemon, a little bit of the yeast scent on it. I was kind of surprised. I've always been interested with the lavender and the Saisons. I've never brewed with it. Always wanted to try it, so I'm really excited for this. I'm not picking up any lavender on the nose at all, though. Are you?
Really? I'm just maybe just a hint, you know, because lavender is kind of a soft scent, anyways. Maybe just a little bit, but I don't know. Let's get into it.
Ready. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's nice. I really like it. I tend to like the farmhouse ales and Belgian beers a little bit more than Brian.
That's why I called Mark in for help on the review.
But I'm trying to get him to try a few different things. I really like this. It's got a good initial flavor. Not as dry as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think the wheat actually gives it a little bit of body.
A little bit of, yeah, definitely a mouthfeel there.
Mm-hmm. I think, and I toyed with the carbonation a little bit on it to try to get it, you know, where it was spot on, and I think I got it pretty good.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's a nice
Yeah.
Mouthfeel with the carbonation, it kind of dries right off your tongue.
I love these beers in the summer when it's hot out. It's 86 degrees out right now, and it's evening. You know, highly carbonated, really refreshing, bright, clean. I love the Belgian yeast flavor in it. It's really clean, and the lemon. As I drink it, I get just a hint of the floral scent in my nose. It's just a hint there. I'm not sure. I have never brewed with lavender.
This is my first time. Well, it's my first time brewing a Saison and with lavender. So
if you added it at flame out, if that would increase that, or dry, you know, if you can even dry hop with it, I have no idea. So if anyone's tried it, done it, please leave it in the comments. I would love to know.
Yeah,
very tasty.
I think, you know, maybe you could up the lavender, and I think I do agree with them on the lemon peel. I think the ½ ounce was just right. Yeah. I think if you'd have put the full ounce in, I think it would have been a little overpowering.
Yeah,
I think everything balances real well.
It's perfect.
The yeast flavor, the
it's really good. The yeast is good. It's good in balance. You know, a lot of the things that turn people off of the Belgian yeast or the farmhouse ale sometimes, like you said, you get that dankness of the horse blanket or the dirty sock smell. Or sometimes they get too fruity, especially if you get the temperatures too high during fermentation. You'll get some clove and banana coming off, and there's none of this in there. So
yeah, I was gonna say, and I did ferment at like right around 68 to 70 degrees, so I was kind of right in the middle of that range there. I wanted to stay a little bit higher because I did want to get some of that character.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah.
But you know, I didn't want to go overboard because I'm not a huge fan of that, you know, that weird dankness.
I think if you get a little bit of it, you know, in there, I think this is good. I think you did well done. Yeah, well done. Great Fermentations. That's a good kit.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to say. I was going, I really want to thank Great Fermentations for sending this kit and helping me expand my brewing horizon. So if you're thinking about brewing a saison and wanting to switch it up, I normally brew like wheat beers with some orange, or even do a shandy or something like that in the summertime. So if you're doing that and you want to switch it up and try a saison, I think this is definitely a great kit to buy. It was super easy to brew. I mean, I did a live brew day. I was able to brew the beer and do the live broadcast at the same time. So I'll link that up in the description as well, so you can go check out the brew day on that. But I really think it's a hit, and I'm already planning on brewing another saison. So I'm very impressed by this. So Great Fermentations, cheers to you. Thank you so much for introducing me to your Hippie Farm Lemon Lavender Saison. And until the next brew and review, this has been Brian
and Mark
for Short Circuit Brewers. Cheers.
Cheers.
We'll see you.